Just want to start out with a quick review. We solved our very first clue. It took us to a picture of the painting on page 126. And we learned how to navigate the poem. Well, by our seventh clue, we had Gypsy Magic. When you took the Y's out of Gypsy, it's GPS Magic, and it left us with this GPS number right here. That's through 7 clues. And I wanted to touch briefly on the Gilbert Gull painting. It cost $5,000. Remember our chapter, The Long Road Home, 55, where we get this number here, 55, where we get this number at the bottom, 55. This number right here, that's where we got it. Page 55, 5,500. I'm just showing you the two things. The Gilbert Gull painting had a man on a wooden bridge holding a smoking gun. Forrest was riding shotgun. And the Gilbert Gull painting had a dead dog bleeding on the wooden floorboards. And Long Ride Home had dead animals on the road. I just wanted to review that real quickly before we move on. I just wanted to reinforce this. The Gilbert Gull black and white painting, or rainbow bridge, or cemetery. Black and white painting, I want to reinforce that just a little bit. Remember tea with Ogla? At first he had red tea, but then after she got her cancer diagnosis, they had black tea and nibbled on Oreos, black and white. Remember when he got cancer, he didn't want to fall into the black abyss. So that just enforces that death and dying with the rainbow bridge. I wanted to show you those two things real quick. Remember when Eric Sloan lied about his age by 5 years, and we applied that to the school picture, took 5 off? Well, we've got 5 apostrophes in the poem. Now, apostrophes in the GPS number are the minutes. Now, we have a little problem there because me in the middle is 35. So on the latitude, if we would take 5 off of that, that would be 30, and then it would change it. So I don't think we can do that. So let's see if there's anything else we can do. Let's go to page 40. Up at the top, he said, but the second the minute hand touched 8. So now this is our 8th clue we're working on, and he's talking about second and minute. So I wonder if we could apply that 5 off on the seconds. Let's see, I would think that would be a good deal. We'll go try that for a second. So we found our 8th clue, took 5 seconds off of the latitude and off of the longitude. And here's our new number, 37, 35, 50, 107, 46, 37. Our GPS number starts and ends in 37. I just wanted to update that. Chapter 37, Too Far to Walk, Treasures Galore. Remember, our GPS number begins with 37 and ends with 37. He's got a double-sided axe. What's that mean? We cut off of both sides of the equation, the longitude and the and the latitude. So folks, on page 125, we got God subtracts from the allotted time of man those hours spent fishing. Well, we know in GPS there's only minutes and seconds. So we took 5 seconds off the longitude and 5 seconds off the latitude. So let's go here and look at these people over here on page 122 and 123 that have been fishing. Now, if you count all the fish on these pages, it's 37 fish. Okay. Well, how do we know that that's not for the first 37? Our first 37. Well, let's go back. To page 64. We got this picture of Skippy in this old car. And it says, Skippy in his car. The grin is real. Well, it's obvious. You can tell this is a Photoshop picture. They Photoshopped this picture in. So, after we see that, let's go. Here's Skippy standing by a rock. Well, what's this remind you of? The Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone helped solve the hieroglyphics of the Great Pyramid, and helped solve that. So we know that Skippy is going to help solve parts of this puzzle. But we also know that Skippy's a lot like his father, right? So let's go back and take a look at this picture down here in the corner. His dad don't have a leg. And there's a rock behind him. This is Photoshopped. How many fish does he have in his? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is this? This is our 8th clue. So I think that pretty much settles that for that. So we found our 8th clue. Took 5 seconds off of the latitude and off of the longitude. And here's our new number, 37, 35, 50, 107, 46, 37. Our GPS number starts and ends in 37. I just wanted to update that. Quick review, this was our old GPS number. About 3/8 of a mile north of the Cascade Canyon Y. We covered that in clues 6 and 7. After we've taken 5 seconds off the longitude and the latitude, this is where our new number takes us. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, we've got a real bridge. Now, the remarkable thing about this, remember we took 5 seconds off the long ride home, which means we also took 5 off of the Gilbert Gall painting, which makes it 50. And I think you'll find this very interesting because 51 seconds north is the very end of the bridge. About 90% of the bridge is on 50 seconds north. Our Gilbert Gall Rainbow Bridge overlaps that bridge 50 seconds. So, it overlaps it perfectly. Page 50, and we know that Skippy and his father are Rosetta Stone, so they kind of help us solve part of the clues in the puzzle. Remember, the bridge is about 90% of it is on 50 seconds north. So page 50, Skippy has his helicopter and he crashes it. And then he said, what do you expect for free admission? Page 51, he's graduated with his father, and his father's all smiles. And if you believe in eternity, anybody can be there in eternity because there is no time. So folks, Skippy died on the Rainbow Bridge. That's it. That's the cemetery. 51 seconds north. His dad was waiting for him. That stands for eternity because we also got purgatory over there. Now let's see if we can fill in a few more things and then come back. So why did Forrest name his treasure chest Indulgence? Well, in the Catholic Church, when you die, a lot of times you have to go to purgatory before you can go straight into heaven. But you can pay indulgences as a way to either lessen your time in purgatory or to bypass purgatory. You just pay money to the Catholic Church. And I think this has something to do with why he named it Indulgence. The Animas River, a pretty interesting river. It's a very good, it's known for its trout fishing. but it's also known as the River of Lost Souls or the River of Souls. Animal in Latin means soul. So I find that a little bit interesting that our graveyard, our Rainbow Bridge, is going over a river known as the River of Lost Souls. Okay, let's return to page 37. Remember, we was here on our second clue. We couldn't find any kind of confirmations of anything. I mean, it was like, holy moly, we couldn't find nothing. Let's see what we can see this time. Down here at the bottom, my father gave me a Daisy air rifle for my 8th birthday. Our 8th clue, put the Gilbert Gall painting with the guy with the gun and the graveyard all together. It said, Dad usually killed a chicken. Well, we know that that's the graveyard. Page 37. Our GPS number starts and ends with 37. It's our graveyard. And see, that's why I released the epilogue before this video, so we would know. Forrest is sitting on his own grave because he did not die. He survived himself. The little grave here with the cross coming out of it, that's his mother's grave. That's the 237s, and that's the ace. June's grave, his father and his brother's grave. See, we know so much more this time around. What it kind of reminds me of the T.S. Eliot. He said, we shall not cease from our explorations, and at the end of all our exploring, we will arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Just to reinforce the idea of 37s being the graveyard, page 37, we have Elkfoot Jerry Marble. And when he tells you about him, he said he died the next morning after he met him. So we have a black and white picture of a dead Native American on page 37. I wanted to cover this real quick. Mr. from Jenny Kyle's site. Mr. Fenn, you said not associated with any structure. Did that mean all 9 clues are just where the treasure sits? Yes, D, it means the structure is not hidden in or about a structure. Google structure for more information. Right off the bat, you ought to be a little bit suspicious because he says Google structure. Well, is our Rainbow Bridge and our cemetery a structure? No. They're derived from the Gilbert Gall painting. It's a picture we have where? In our mind. We've laid it onto a real bridge, but it's not part of that real bridge. It's not hidden in any kind of a structure because it's in our mind. Remember our very first clue? If you solve the first clue, you take it straight to the treasure chest. Did it take us straight to the treasure chest? No, it took us to a picture of the treasure chest. And that's what we got here. We got a picture in our mind, in our imagination, of a Rainbow Bridge and a graveyard. They are not structures. So let's see the picture he's painting. We got our cemetery, our Gilbert Gall Rainbow Bridge Cemetery, right here. This is our graveyard, over a river of lost souls. We got purgatory on the other side, and we got indulgence here. What for? Well, I mean, it strongly hints for something, but there's something else here I think people ought to look at. Cascade Creek. What's a name for Cascade? What's another name for Cascade? Waterfall. Remember back in Vietnam, he went to a waterfall. He took a helicopter to a waterfall. And he tripped over this old French cemetery, these graves in this old French cemetery. Well, Skippy crashed his helicopter in the cemetery. I think that's that's the picture he's trying to paint, that there's no time. All this is blended in together. So why did Forrest name his book The Thrill of the Chase? Well, he tells us on page 143. I hope my age has pushed me far enough ahead so as to discourage an even most persistent chase. This is after he had survived cancer and almost died of cancer. And if you realize it, you go back to his graveyard visit in Vietnam, where his mystical experiences started, and where they climax is when he almost died from cancer. And that's what everything else in the book is memories that he's reliving in the book. And I think that's kind of interesting. So see, folks, if we can't see this little picture that he's painting, we have our cemetery, our rainbow bridge. It goes over a river of lost souls. We got picnic tables here, and we've got purgatory here. This represents, eternity, where there's no time. Where did our GPS numbers end? They end right here. Seconds and minutes are GPS numbers. Time ends here. And in the allegory, he's trying to get us to see time ends there, because that's the death bridge. Time ends at death. Now, I want to read from the book, the last paragraph. The past will always be contradictory when told one person at a time. I feel my life has been a rough draft of the place just ahead, where the past will come alive again, and all my experiences and friends through the years will meet me at the great banquet table. There will be no past. Well, he said, a rough draft of the place just ahead. He's going to die. He's going to have his indulgence, pay to get out of purgatory, and his banquet table with all the people over here in eternity. I think that's a very, very, very good picture of what he's trying for us to see in our mind. Remember, in our imaginations, what he's trying for us to see. But what's another thing from the very last page, he talks about a French soldier's headstone in Vietnam. Cascade Creek means waterfall. Cascade means waterfall. Remember, Skippy had a helicopter and died in our allegory right there in the cemetery. Well, he went to the waterfall in a helicopter and tripped over those French graves. See how he's blended all that in together? Both of them are on the last page. Well, I hope I did that justice. I don't know if I did or not. There's that picture that I think he paints at the end, and I think it's pretty plain that he's painting that picture there. We started with finding the treasure chest in the book, made it all the way through Gypsy Magic, modified our GPS number, which was our blaze, made it to that particular spot, and had that picture in our mind. He painted that picture in our mind. But the one thing I never realized the first time around, I didn't realize that the Cascade Creek waterfall Vietnam connection, because he blends that right in there too. And so if you go back to the waterfall in Vietnam, that's when his mystical experiences started. You go back a day or two before that, that's when he was shot down and he was pulled up, remember, by a helicopter. Go read that account. But about that night when they dropped all those bombs on him, about everything else being dead. It makes me think he had a near-death experience. I'm not going to say, the point's mute anyway, but it's just something I never picked up on, how he blended all that all as one there at the end of the final picture he's painting. Well, that's about it. And I want to thank you for joining me, and God bless you. So here we have the mystery of the bullet. And this is on page 51, or Too Far to Walk. Now remember, 50 was our rainbow bridge or cemetery, but the very end of it was 51. And notice the wood background here. He's talking about the bullet. Remember, the Gilbert Gall painting had a guy holding a smoking pistol with a dead dog on the road. Well, the guy had to shoot the dog, so he had to have a bullet. So where is our missing bullet? Well, if you remember, when we did the graves, we had a straight right there. And that's how we lined up the graves, who we knew who had a grave. But if we dealt this poker hand in the order that they died, we would be dealing it this way. We would deal, the first one would be a ace, a joker, and the second one would be an ace. That's Skippy and his mom. Well, the first two cards, aces. There's your bullet.